I'd like to call this meeting of the Urbana's Market at the Square Advisory Board to order. Will Suki please call the roll?
Ms. Marlin,
Here.
Ms. Welter,
Here.
Ms. Tyler.
I'm here. I'm just observing today.
Oh,
I'm not on the
okay.
board, but
Mr. Miles,
Here.
Mr. Shetty,
Present.
and Mr. Price.
Here.
We have a quorum. Are there any changes or additions to the agenda?
I have a few items I'm going to add to the staff report
Okay.
that I left off, and I'll get to it when we get to the staff report.
Okay. Well, I'd like to welcome everyone to the meeting. I think since it's been a while since we've met, maybe we should do quick introductions and our affiliations.
Sure. My name is Carrie Welter. I'm a social worker in the community, and I serve as a community member on this board.
Okay.
I'm Libby Tyler. I'm the Community Development Director, and I work with Natalie, and I thought I would come and observe today. So.
I'm Kent Miles, Illinois Willows, cut flowers at the market.
Stan Shetty, Triple S Farms.
Robert Kleiss, Kleiss Produce Fund.
Natalie Kenny Marquez, I'm the director of Urbana's Market at the Square.
Suki Reed, support staff, admin,
And market staff.
market staff.
And I'm Diane Marlin. I'm the City Council liaison. Okay. Is there any public input? Seeing no members of the public here, we'll move on to the staff report.
You're going to do
Oh,
the minutes?
Do we
I-
approve the minutes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep, I just checked that off. Back up to item number 3. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
You want to get the whole time to read them, or?
Yeah, I
Okay.
had actually skimmed through them.
Fine, you could-
Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Also moved.
Second?
Second.
Any corrections? Okay. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Same opposed, same sign. Okay, those are approved. Okay, moving on to staff report.
All right. In the packet is the staff report. To start off, for a season recap, well, the 2015 season is over. I included in here because a few vendors had asked me for the weekly estimated patron counts. So I compiled them over 2013, 2014, and 2015. And again, these are estimates. We have been taking attendance the same way for about 8 years, I guess.
I don't think we've got that.
We don't have that.
Right there. is it?
Staff report.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've already seen it.
I think it's at the end of
Second
the
last, yeah.
packet, yeah. So go in one page before the last.
It's not there.
Maybe there's only a copy on that one.
Maybe Ron ain't for got to yours.
Maybe it wasn't on a copy that was.
Well, I can pull it up. So these are the totals, estimated totals, and I say estimated because it's not a perfect art taking the attendance, but we have been doing it the same way for many years, at least 8 years, if not longer. And this season, we did have 28 weeks in our season, as opposed to the past 2 years, we had 27 weeks. It's just the way the calendar worked out. So you can kind of see here, and I can tell you, this was the day we had the 100-year reign. So I'm sure that some of you remember that well. And then, you know, some of the major fluctuations are definitely weather-based. So that one in particular, someone asked me a question about that. Did we forget to take attendance that day? I said no. We
I
can
think there
count.
was a few more people there than that before it ended, but
Boy, 11:30.
you guys might have left by then. Yeah.
About 11:30.
Around there.
Because it's funny, nobody wanted to leave. Usually vendors at 12, man, they're out of there.
Right.
Ain't nobody want to leave.
I also sent out a survey to vendors and community groups that participated in the market this season, asking them a few questions. And once I get that information back, I will share it with the advisory board. The questions included, you know, how did you hear about the market being promoted? Were you satisfied with the market season? How well was communication relayed to you throughout the market season? One question that I did add, and this was based on some feedback by a few vendors this season, was if the vendor community group was in support of ending the market with the last Saturday in October rather than the first Saturday in November. That way that we could very easily say the market runs from the beginning of May through the end of October instead of the first weekend of November. It's a little misleading when we say May through November, and then the holiday market picks up the second week in November and runs. So it would be a little more clean cut, and that last Saturday the weather is a little unpredictable. Although this past first Saturday of November was quite delightful.
Better than the last November, or October.
So we'll see what the feedback I receive.
Question.
Yes.
Do you know if we do end in October, would UVA pick up that first weekend for the indoor market?
They said that they would.
Okay.
When I was approached with this suggestion by a few vendors, it was when the UBA was present, we were together, and they thought that that would be a good deal.
Okay.
Yeah. So I want to wait to see what kind of feedback we get. So far, people seem to be in support of it. But I'll keep you posted. And also with that information, it'll help me decide if there are any changes we need to make to policies in the vendor handbook or community group handbook, and also suggestions. I have received some on the layout of the market, so we'll definitely take all that into consideration. And these were the couple of things I wanted to add to my staff report, and I'll add it at this point. I did receive some feedback about adding a food truck vendor to the Market Advisory Board. That is a category of vendor that we currently don't have a representative on this board. I think when the board was created, it was kind of before the surge of
Yeah, I
food
looked
trucks.
through that. It states in there it needs to be a fair representation of everybody.
Right, and that is one that we don't currently have on the board. So it does take a while to add that position to the board. We do have to change the ordinance. So in the meantime, if there are food truck representatives that would like to come as a member of the public and sit in on the meetings and interact with the board, they're welcome to do so. They just can't vote.
It could even be ex officio.
Right.
This would be a way to have them on the board, but until we change the ordinance, technically wouldn't be able to vote. But that might be a way to bridge that until we're able to get the ordinance updated.
I wondered if the Tuesday market had affected attendance, but it looks like it hasn't overall. Is that your assessment?
Kent, you're a vendor at the Tuesday market. Do you think that there's any?
Overall, I have people that shop Tuesday that don't shop Urbana.
Okay.
So I had a few.
A different.
Right, I had a few, yeah.
Customer base.
The
Yeah.
customer base. I had a few that are regulars that did come to Tuesday, but not that many. Most of it was all new.
That's good.
The other item was, there were some questions on the market's policy on carrying. If there is a vendor that decides to bring items to market that they did not make, create, or grow themselves, they can, that other business can apply to the market the same way as any other vendor applies to market, with a business tax number, and our policy is to review that and make sure that it is not going to be a necessarily a competing item or something like that. There's a few instances, maybe 3 at the market, where that's the case, that we do allow that to happen. But otherwise, we don't allow vendors to carry products or to bring to market items that they didn't create, grow themselves.
And then, because we're one that does that, and we was told we needed to clearly mark and signage of that product. It's like we do eggs from another farm, and we clearly mark it, it's not our eggs, and so that way the public knows that it's somebody else.
Right.
So I feel that way they're not being duped, you know. And on that, we have to have his license and everything else there, so, you know, all the legal stuff has to be there too.
And those are all things that I collect from Hedgerow Farms.
Right.
So they go through the same process that any other vendor does at market, in order for Stan to bring those to market, and they're clearly labeled separately. And that goes along the lines of the rules that Illinois Department of Public Health decided last season, 2014 season, that vendors at farmers markets must state where they're from. The city, they could state the physical location, but I only ask for the city and state to be posted along with the farm name on some type of signage. And if there's a customer that wants to know the physical location, well, we have an online market map and website, and they can find that information there if they want. Interesting to note, the market breakdown by vendor type, we had 49 growers.
Can you just pull up the text of your staff report,
Yep.
if that's what you've got open?
Oop, there we go. This section, we had 49 growers, 49 processed and prepared food vendors. That's everyone from a jam and jelly vendor to a food truck. We had 74 art and craft vendors and 63 community groups. This is pretty consistent with last season. Moving into 2016, I am going to remove food trucks from the processed and prepared food vendor category and create their own category called concessions.
Is there a plan or an idea in place or whatever of eliminating them, or that goes, I guess, with any vendor, on how many that comes into the market? Am I saying that right? I guess that goes with anybody.
Sure, like putting a cap on the number of a certain category of vendors that are allowed to come to market. Well, this is the total number that were accepted to participate in the market. That doesn't mean that they were there every Saturday. I think our busiest Saturday in terms of vendors, we had 100 vendors participating that day, and that was our max. We had no open space. But not all vendors come every Saturday, so every weekend there's a fluctuation of that ratio between growers, processed and prepared food vendors, and art and craft vendors. So that makes it a little difficult to put a cap on it if it changes, fluctuates each week.
Well, yes and no.
Were you asking about the number of food trucks?
Well, that to start off with, but anything.
Okay.
But just for instance, and there was a football this year that 5 showed up, and you know it was just a freak thing. But ain't nobody made any money. You know, I do another market, it's a smaller market, let's say, let's take peach vendors. They let 5 peach vendors, nobody makes any money. So I don't know how to say it and how to do it, and maybe just let free markets, let the last dog stand, I don't know. But, you know, because you got, and using the food truck thing, that's a popular thing and it's going to keep growing. I know of 2 or 3 others that would love to get in this market.
I think that
So-
we're limited on the food trucks for sure by the row, because they're
Well-
they're big, so I don't know how many.
But I was going to bring that up
Yeah.
on relocating, because, you know, we had some discussions on relocation of food trucks. But even then, if you had room for 100 of them, do you want 100 food trucks? And I don't know, you know, this is America, so it's a free country, but this kind of goes on Natalie, I guess. On what, or do we talk about that for the new year, put some recommendations in for the new guidelines? I don't know. It's a tough call, you know.
Your food truck deal goes right in there with the peach deal. Letting all the Southern Illinois peaches in is for local peach people. I know everybody that's had local peaches has a hard time selling the Southern Illinois peaches in there, even when they taste better. Because you can't get ahead of what's coming from 200 miles south.
My thought always was on that is, there on the peaches, if everybody's taking peaches, you've got too many. So you need to know what the market demand is, and that's kind of tough because every day is different, but,
Same.
or every week, I mean, I'm sorry, but,
We used to
does
be
that
able
make
to-
sense?
Yeah, we used to be able to sell $250 for peaches here on Saturday morning. Now we're lucky if we can sell 50 because of all the rest of it that come in. And Jeff's the same way, Jeff Meyer. We're both at the point where we're not gonna plant any more peach trees. Because there's no reason to.
And the whole local thing it's all changing, and then this is, you know, how it's going. So, yeah, I feel, you know, we need to talk about it, you know, is where do we want our market to go? Because I read in there, that's kind of our, we're supposed to have a vision to see where we want the market to go, where they set their statement that they made in the 2011 document they come up with. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying one way or the other. I just want to throw it out there. You know, and in the meat business, I mean, it's the same thing. You let them in, and we've got a strong holding, but still, you know, if I'm not supplying the market, then that's fine. But if, you know, I'm supplying the market and the 2 other ones are too, then do you need another meat vendor? I don't know. That's something I don't know. And I say you can throw it on Natalie's shoulders, or we can say here. I don't know. I'm just showing it out there.
It sounds like something to look at when we revise the strategic
That's-
plan.
Because if it's not a healthy market for the vendors, then what have you created?
Yeah, well, that's something we can look at when we do the strategic plan.
I think that's a great venue to review these types of bigger, long-term or policy changes as we look towards the future and how we want to see this market grow or stay or.
But do you need to plant seeds with the council now? Or, you know, I mean, I've got a whole list of things that I hope I get in before new business is over with. But, you know, I just I think they need to be on the table.
Well, one of the items today is to talk about, in new business, reviewing the market strategic plan, thinking about how we want to move forward. I think that's where it would.
Okay.
So right now, any, say, grower in the state can come, but not out of state, right?
Just the state of Illinois.
Okay. So whether it be 20 miles away, like local, or 200.
The 200 hurts the local people. Or
You know, and you get
whatever
your-
you define as local.
Right, and that's what I was just gonna say, you get some of the smaller markets that are looking for vendors, they don't care if you're reselling, you're buying it from Arthur or the Amish auction barn. So every market is different. I think this is a solid, I know it's probably one of the best markets in the state. So I feel people are wanting to get in this market, and, you know, you just make the rules how you wanna make them, I guess, you know, whatever everybody decides, and people will adjust, you know, because this is a good market. It's a good market, at least for us, and I think other people too. But if you got a, that isn't true, then, I don't know. That's just, like I said, I just want to throw it out there. And we can talk about it, later too. I just didn't know when to bring it, I didn't know when to bring it up.
No, thank you for the.
I'm glad somebody else brought it up.
Sounds like you're asking for, looking at what definition of local is.
Right.
I don't,
That's
I
part
don't
of
know
it.
if that's, somebody smarter than me's got to talk about this.
Yeah,
You know?
and numbers as well.
Yeah, but I don't know how to do it.
I'd be curious to hear it from other markets.
That's what
around the state, how they
because
define
I'm
what
not,
policies they use.
I mean, I've obviously got my opinion, but that's not,
No,
Like-
for example, the Champaign market they define as within a 150-mile radius, but then they have Sitka wild Alaskan salmon being sold at the market. So there's,
Seeing that.
and that's kind of the case with some of the other markets too. When you get up into the Chicagoland area, you're finding markets pulling from Wisconsin.
there ain't no
Michigan.
rules up in Chicago, I'll tell you that right now.
They consider local
Can't
as
even
within the
enforce our
Midwest
gun
region.
rules.
My colleague in Aurora has the Illinois' longest running farmers market, 108 years, and they consider locals within our Midwestern region.
So is that something, because you're on the board, or on the marketing council thing, whatever, is that something you can pick people's brains and see what, because you're going to have access to a lot of people that's in the business,
Right.
and see what they do,
Yeah.
and report back to us.
What also changes is the fact that we consider ourselves a producer-only market, and that's not the case
Right.
across the state. And so as I work with other markets across the state, and we have questions, like right now we're compiling a database of all of the markets in the state of Illinois. And one of the questions directly applies to just producer-only markets. And there's other markets that, they wouldn't answer that question because of that. So once we kind of have a better database of where are the markets, who's running them, getting that information, that contact information, because I can always talk to the same group all the time, but I'm looking for some more information here. So we're working on that.
And how long should that strategic plan thing be in effect, or how long before you revisit it every time? This is, 4 years now, I guess. I mean, you don't want to be doing it every year, but.
No. Well, let me finish this staff report right quick.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. And then we'll move on to the new business.
Got you in
and
the
we can
weeds.
get into that. No, it's all right. I appreciate the feedback. So I'm going to give an annual report on the market to the Urbana City Council. We're slated to go on January 11th. It'll be at 7 o'clock in the council chambers. Anyone's welcome to attend, but I'll also put the report up online afterwards, and there will be a video that will go along with it as well. So not specific to the annual report, but a nice video promoting the market that we can use in all different venues. I'm very excited to share that with you all when it's finished. A little update on SNAP and WIC. We'll start with WIC. The Illinois Farmers Market Association received $1,000 from the Lumpkin Foundation. They re-granted that money to farmers markets in our area, including Urbana's Market at the Square. We received $1,000. We used that to create double value vouchers for the WIC Farmers Market Nutrition Program. In our county, we were at like a 36% redemption rate on those vouchers, one of the lowest in the state. Once we threw out that extra $1,000 in incentives, we were able to boost that up to over an 80% redemption rate. So I'm head over heels excited about that. We've never seen so many customers coming to us with their WIC vouchers asking where can we redeem them, how do we redeem them, who takes them. Suki can talk to that
Was
as
it a
well.
match up to a certain amount?
So the customers receiving the WIC vouchers would get a pack in July. They would get three $3 vouchers per person in their family. Then, those are valid only for the month of July, or pardon me, June, only the month of June. Beginning July 1st, they would receive another pack of vouchers, a little bit more, I think more like 4 vouchers in $3 increments. And those were good through October 31st. So it wasn't a whole lot of money for all of those months. But we were matching voucher to voucher, the double value.
Okay.
Mhm. So we're definitely exploring opportunities to continue similar programming in 2016 since it was so successful. We also received $5,000 in funding from Link Up Illinois, and that was to provide double value incentives for SNAP. In Illinois, it's called Blink. We exhausted all of those funds between July 18th and October 10th. It was a very popular program. We saw lots of new customers coming in, and the reason I can say that is because as a customer comes up and gives us their link card for the transaction, we ask if they've been to the market before, have they used their link card at the market before, and we track all that information as part of our grant. So that was excellent. And a little update on Illinois Farmers Market Association. The association will have a statewide conference in February at the Chicago Cultural Center on the 16th and 17th. On the 16th, there'll be a fundraiser. It'll be a film screening. It's the documentary, A Farmer's Road, that was filmed at Prairie Fruits Farm and Creamery, one of the Urbana Market vendors. It was a documentary filmed over a 5-year period. So we'll be showing that at the Chicago Cultural Center. And just as a side note, I'm participating in a market manager certification. It's through the Michigan Farmers Market Association. IFMA is working with them to help market managers in Illinois become certified. So that should be fun.
Any questions on the staff report? Okay, so we're moving on to new business.
For new business, I believe we shared this in April, but it's been a really long time since we've met. The first attachment is the Urbana's Market at the Score Advisory Board member duties, roles, and responsibilities. That way, if you have any questions about your position with the Market Advisory Board, or as we potentially add new advisory board members, they'll have this to look back to. Does anyone have any questions about this before we move on? We do have some vacancies on the advisory board. One is the position, a representative that is representing an Urbana business. So that is one spot open. The other is the art and craft vendor representative. And
Food truck could kill that 2 birds with 1 stone.
possibly.
Is there a local business?
I'd have to look into that, whether or not it has to be their
I mean, it doesn't matter. I'm
right.
just saying.
No, I
There
understand.
are some who are Urbana businesses and also have food trucks. and
I mean, it doesn't matter. I guess threw it out there. but-
The UVA, perhaps Paris could help us out on the business
Mhm.
side. So we do have business and development lunch, we just had one, and we could recruit from that
Right.
pool of people who are, involved locally.
Right, because I want to hear other feedback, 'cause
Yeah.
I'm a tunnel vision type of guy.
The other, so we're Urbana business representative, art and craft vendor representative, and a community group representative. The last
Can you
two-
recruit those?
I have tried unsuccessfully to recruit for those last 2 spots on the advisory board.
But other advisory board members can recruit, help us out.
So you're looking for any community group, or what
Mhm.
kind of agency? Or?
Community group that is a participant at the farmer's market.
Okay.
Yes. And an art and craft vendor that also is approved to vend at the farmer's market.
And actually, back to the business rep, the ordinance requires a downtown Urbana business
Okay,
represented.
Oh, yeah.
so,
I think there's only one downtown Urbana business that owns a food truck, Pandemonium. Don't they have space in Colab?
from time to time. But yeah, I would touch base with Jessica or Paris and see if we can't. You know, it's hard to get the business people involved because they're running their business. It's hard to come to them in days.
I always feel guilty because they got bricks and mortar, they pay taxes and all that. We come in, fly in on a Saturday and fly out on Saturday afternoon. We don't, you know, we pay our sales tax, but other than that. So, you know, if there's, dialogue needs to happen. Now, I think Common Ground says that they have better days during the market. Yeah, I mean, that's, this is what they tell me, I can't prove it. But, so I'd be curious if any other businesses, you know what I'm saying, has better day. I don't know.
Mm.
Just be curious. Because you're bringing a lot of people to the area.
Comment about it, maybe they would be interested.
Make a note.
You know, a lot of the city boards and commissions, we lack a few members. People are pretty busy and we have so many boards and commissions. We always have
But
a
was
few
it the
big
bottom
ones.
line says there's no compensation? Did I read that somewhere?
That's the problem.
I thought we were supposed to be accountable.
You're a
Give
happy
you high
volunteer.
fives, pat on the back.
There you go.
So this is a 9-member board.
No, for boots. Yeah, no, just.
Well, are there any comments on board duties and roles and responsibilities? Any questions, comments?
So the next part of the new business is talking about the Market at the Square strategic plan review. It's an update for you. And I added the memo and the ordinance that created the Market Advisory Board for you to look back to. And I know I've shared the market strategic plan with the group the past 2 meetings, I think, but you can also find it on the market's website. I can send that up to you.
Everybody has a copy of that? Is that right? Mm-hmm. I can get you hard copies if you need. Do you have a hard copy?
I didn't ever see the mission statement though. Is that something?
Yeah, there it is.
Is it in the handout we got?
It's in the strategic plan. I copied it and blew it up big on my bulletin board too.
But it's not here.
I think it was in last time's packet, is that what
Yeah,
you're saying?
That's
it
what
was-
I'm asking. I
Yeah, it
didn't
was
see
in
it.
the April packet, but it's on the, the 5th page of the strategic plan. Urbana's Farmers Market is a vibrant market that connects the community with local food growers and producers, strengthens our local food economy, provides access to local artisans, and serves as a community gathering place. So,
That took a lot of work to get that statement.
It was like giving birth.
You can imagine, yeah, yeah.
I remember that.
Painful.
Because you gotta look, John was on the committee, so. that's- I say that in a good way. I like John.
He's never changed.
He's fine.
So what needs to happen now is that, a lot has changed in a good way, I think, since the strategic plan was published. It was in 2010. So one of the things that I think is important now is for us to take some time to review the goals that were laid out in the strategic plan, and determine whether they're still relevant, or if there's goals that we feel aren't on here that should be pursued. One way that we can kind of get this information from vendors and community groups and patrons is through a survey. So the next step is to compile a survey and send that out that will ask the questions to help us get the answers on whether or not these are still appropriate goals for the.
Because our earlier conversation addresses number one right there.
Mhm. Sorry, there's more.
Mm.
There's a second half right there. I think what you said, Stan, also relates to number 10, enhancing the market's role in the local food system.
And considering future growth that's consistent with.
Number
the mission.
7, we had some conversations on the educational side, and I don't know if this is the right time to throw it out again, but having a chef demo guy there every, show them how to use this stuff.
Yes.
They're like, it's, you know what I mean?
Gotta figure out a way to do that with public health, little demos.
I just started that conversation this week, again,
With?
with public health. A dialogue about having a monthly chef demo. So you are only allowed to take out
Oh,
a certain
right.
number of temporary health permits. We could have chef
Did I
demonstrate.
forget about that? I didn't
No,
think we had to
no,
be
it's
legal.
okay.
I just thought, throw it out there, let's go.
There are changes
Okay.
coming to the sampling specifically at Farmers Market, but they won't start until July. So in the meantime, and before I really understand what those are, since they haven't sent that out to market managers yet, I'm working with public health, and we're going to determine something that's more on a monthly basis to get us to July, because you're only allowed to take out 3 temporary health permits per calendar year. So that would allow us to have one in May, June, and July.
Stopgap to get us there.
And then once the new sampling permit comes out and we understand how that works, fingers crossed that'll push us.
Now, does
to
that
August.
cost?
If the market takes out this temporary health permit, it won't have a fee, but we still
Yeah.
have to follow all of
Right,
the
right.
rules.
Okay,
So they're very specific about it, and the fact that if we do want to offer these samples to the public to consume, they have to tell them exactly what, the chef has to tell public health exactly what they're gonna cook, and they have to have all the appropriate hand washing stations, cutting station, all of that. A public health representative comes in and issues the temporary health permit that day,
To,
the chef. And then they can offer those tastings out to the general public. We could have a chef demonstration come and they could show how to cook it, but anything they cooked, they couldn't sample out. And we wouldn't have to get a temporary health permit for that, but I don't think that, if I saw someone cooking something, I would want to taste it. I wouldn't want them to just,
but is that gonna be a cost then to the person giving the demo? Because he has to come up with a, 3-base washing station and all this other thing, they ain't gonna do it.
So,
Their margins are tight too.
yeah, I know there are some USDA grants, because when I was in Wisconsin, I used to work with the extension up there, and basically we had a guest chef program where every few months we had someone come out, and we were able to purchase all of the equipment for them to use, including the cover, and all that equipment was used the next year as well. So
That's a great idea.
Yeah. so
Would
it might
Lumpkin
worth
be
looking
up to
into.
that?
that's something we could inquire about. I know
Yes, I would, he'd make grand on that.
the grant that comes to mind that maybe this would be eligible for is a farmer's market promotion grant. But right now they're in the middle of like the food insecurity grant funding for SNAP and for things like that. So, but I think something local would be a great opportunity, especially if we, worked up something to send to the Lumpkin Foundation, who we've successfully received money from.
Well, you're not talking a lot of money,
No.
but that's a good idea, because if you put the burden on the businesses, whatever it is,
They're
Ain't
less
gonna do
likely
it.
to participate. Mhm.
they need to walk in, do their thing, and leave. Or they ain't gonna do it. That's a good idea. Because I think, it'd help everybody to market,
Is the kitchen at Common Ground too far away to remove from the market?
Yeah, I think.
Well, we
Yeah.
can't use the teaching kitchen, it's not a certified commercial kitchen. So we would have to use their actual kitchen that they prepare their own food to sell.
Okay, yeah.
And on a Saturday morning, it's not feasible.
The teaching kitchen isn't?
No,
Really? I didn't
it's
know
just
that.
a teaching kitchen. You can't go in there and prepare food to take out to the public. Now you can register and participate in a class there, but it's not a certified commercial kitchen.
Yikes.
Doesn't have the right sink, drying stations, things like that.
I'm a
Maybe I
food
just keep my
truck.
mouth shut.
I'm a food truck.
There you go.
So
That's right.
what is the role of this board in reviewing the strategic plan? What do we need to do? Or what as part of the process, if anything?
I guess after all the information gets in, it sounds like we gotta look it over and pile through the,
And
I wanna have a
Oh, sorry.
voting right in that.
I think it's good, you know, a lot of times, 5 years is a pretty common time frame for these types of strategic plans. So, you know, one thing you could do is to look at the implementation strategies and see what have we done, what remains to be done. Let's see if we can get that done in the next year. What did we miss? Because things have changed. So I think Natalie's been talking about, you know, survey, we can get other input too, but I think that we would be bringing this back, you know, maybe the next few meetings to was that your thought?
Right.
Yeah.
So we as board members should be reading the strategic plan, to see
Yeah.
making comments on the plan. And the
Yes.
thing like the food trucks, that's a new development since
Yeah,
this
yeah,
one
yeah.
really was
Big
made.
time.
You know, this section in particular, you wanna
And
check
popular.
on whether you've
and
implemented what you
popular, I
wanted to.
should mention too.
People wanted to have breakfast when they go to the.
But let me throw it, just so you see our side of it, it's pulling money out of our pockets. Because this is fact, I mean, I have no proof of it, but this is just farmer fact, that there's a finite amount of money comes to the market. I bring $50 a market. If I go buy a waffle and something else, then I've only got 25. So they spend less buying for me. So I'm not complaining, I just want you to see both sides.
Yeah.
But then on the other side, they may bring somebody that don't come to market. So these things all get complicated sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
But I love them because I like food, obviously.
I like to eat in the morning too.
So you know,
And I think maybe they encourage people to stick around longer.
That's what I was thinking. It should be an amenity that supports the market, that allows the whole family to go, shouldn't detract. And that's why I was saying, I think that aisle, you know, just limits it. You get your 5 choices or whatever it is. Either you're a waffle person or an egg, ice cream, you know, whatever. And but the focus, in my view, as a shopper, you know, that's where the action is in the shopping. And then if you want to stay for lunch, then that's fine.
well, let's take it one step further. Have the food trucks support the market. So then there's a story to tell when they're like the pizza guy, you know, so oh, this is pizza or sausage from so, you know, because I know like Piatto does, you know. So I don't know. That's just an idea. Am I on the weeds again?
Nope,
Okay.
I'll let you know.
All right.
We have another event that, you know, we've been developing for food trucks just for them. You know, we do those on some Tuesdays, and we'll probably keep doing that, so that's a different
It's a
city
huge
program.
thing nationwide though.
Yeah,
These
it's-
dang things out here.
There's one in Tuscola now.
Really.
Yeah. Hard to believe. One
But I agree with you on that. Let's see where we've been and what we did before we, you know, go a whole lot further. And then if there's something that we need to address. I hate changing stuff before we ever know what you done.
Well, I'd be happy for our next meeting to put together, pull out the document that detail the recommendations in this implementation strategy and kind of outline, you know, what's happened since the document was published.
Well, that was my
Before you
next
go.
question. I hate meetings, but are we gonna meet before you go before the, because once January is, we're kinda, you know.
Well, I'm just giving the annual report of how the market went in 2015. I'm not going to.
But as far as any
propose
ideas
any
and stuff, it's gotta
changes.
be in that, right?
No.
It's just
Any new- I
it's
thought-
just a recap of how the season went.
Yeah, what
I
she's doing in
thought-
January is the annual
I
report.
thought I read in there somewhere, it had to be put before in an annual meeting, any changes had to be put before, you know, I'm a slow.
Yeah, I noticed that too, but, you know, practically speaking, the real detail of the administration of the market. The council doesn't.
They don't care?
I mean, Diane's here, which is great, but no, they care, but they,
Well, I
they
didn't mean it
want
that
this
way.
board and the staff
Yeah,
to
we-
do that
yeah,
part,
The
so.
council isn't gonna do the details.
They're not micromanaging it?
Natalie, no, they
Okay.
can't, they're too busy, and Natalie will give this great report that she does every year. It's mostly how this year went,
Okay.
and then there's a little bit at the end on looking forward to next year, but we don't get into the details. This would be the group where we would work.
Okay, I read it
then-
wrong.
yeah, and
The way
then-
I read it was
You
that,
know, I saw that and I was thinking the same thing. Are we out of order? But I think it's really the focus is more on the season we just had. And then she'll kind of highlight some ideas, including the ones we talked about, you know, today
Okay.
in the last meeting. And then there's always, every council meeting, there's staff reports and officer reports. So if Diane or Natalie ever want to report anything throughout the year, they're really there to do that.
And then if the strategic plan is updated, then that would get presented to the council.
Yeah, and certainly any ordinance change, that's, you know, like adding the other member.
Right, right, I did read
Or
that,
changing
yeah.
composition, and that's
Yeah.
kind of a bigger deal, so.
But the work would get done outside of council, for
Gotcha.
sure.
Yeah, the council meetings are long enough as they are, right?
You don't want us to do it.
well, that's kind of what I thought, but no offense.
No, none taken, I
No.
totally understand.
Yeah, the people on the ground in the trenches is the one that was.
Well, and the experts are in this room.
I would say
Not me,
experts, but the people
rest
in the
of you are.
trenches.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and that's how the original strategic plan was, it was done by the growers and the vendors and the, you know, community members. So.
Because I hate surveys. I know you're going to put a survey out, but it's just like a shotgun. You just you know.
People, they love surveys.
Farmers don't.
No, mine goes file 29. I mean, it's just, yeah, I just don't
Like
know.
USDA.
Now, if you put a $20 bill on there, I may think about it. You know, there's some companies that do that, you know.
Usually it's $2.
I don't want to get you.
But that's why we do multiple input. We always do surveys because some people love them. And
I
it's
know,
an easy way for them to participate. Then we do meetings.
I'm just goofing
Because
off.
some people like that, and then we do like booths and handouts, and you can never fail if you want to find out, you know, how people are feeling, what they think. Just do a bunch of different ways, and then
Right.
you get really good.
Serve
input
food,
that
you get
way.
all the farmers.
There you
There you
go.
go.
That's always
Before April, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that was one of my questions too, is the summer meeting. I think it's the second year in a row got canceled.
Oh, the preseason meeting?
No,
During the
July.
season.
Oh, the July meet, well,
is there something?
now that we have a new meeting date, which will be Thursdays, we will be able to meet,
You think?
yes. The reason why we had to cancel this July meeting was for the fact that it was coming up on meeting time, and most of the folks on the advisory board, at least
Gotcha.
half, are at the Tuesday Champagne
Okay.
Market. So as long as they stay on Tuesday and we stay on Thursday, I think we'll be covered.
Okay. So, as far as the strategic plan, we should all, as members of this board, get online, or you can request a copy if you want a paper copy, and look over the plan.
I gotta have ink.
Yeah, I'll print you a copy and I'll bring it to you on Saturday.
All right.
Particularly the goals. I don't think we want to mess with the mission statement.
No, I
I think it's a nice mission
It is a
statement,
nice-
but you know, if you read
I
through
think
here
it's-
and decide differently, then make a note of that. I'll just have to change the giant sign on my bulletin board, that's all.
And then we had, wasn't there an implementation strategies? Yeah. So. And then our board's input will be combined with the input we get from the surveys, and if we have public meeting, that sort of. Do we have a goal for when we want this strategic plan updated? Deadline?
Not yet, but we could talk about that.
Sometime in 2016. That would be 5 years.
You don't know if I think we're doing a check-in on how we're doing. Were you thinking we would do a whole new plan or just an update? We don't know yet, so. It took a long time to do the first plan, so maybe an update would work,
An
the
update
supplement.
sounds good. Yeah, I don't see
Different
it.
ways you can do it, you can do
Yeah.
a
Tweak,
supplement.
I like the word
Tweak
tweak.
it. I don't see a whole new plan. I don't think we need it.
No.
Yeah, revision, that's, update revision, that would be good, I think probably the bones are pretty solid, but
It's a very good.
I'm sure it's gonna need an update on the implementation and then some tweaking, so.
Because we set some goals and we've met some of those goals and some of the others we haven't yet, so, yeah, just see where we are. But it's a very good framework, so we don't need to mess with the basics.
I referred back to these goals many times as
And that was Lisa's brainchild, wasn't it, I think,
the strategic plan,
to get on that, I'm pretty sure.
I believe so.
Yeah, the planners, we had a planner, Rebecca Bird, who was, very interested in the market, and she led the planning effort. We have a planning division,
Mm.
so we had one division here in community development to kind of, the planners are into the
Uh-huh.
plan, so it was a joint effort. And they did, very diligent, I mean, it was a pretty careful process, so I think they did a great job.
So we'll just call this like an update, Market at the Square strategic plan update.
Yeah.
That makes it easier, okay.
This probably an unfair question. Does the board or the councils view us as a pain, or do they?
What, the farmer's market?
Right.
No, my goodness.
Love you.
We love the market.
It's one of the most popular city programs that we have.
We get no complaints.
They're difficult stuff the council and the rest of the city has to deal with, and this is just,
This is a joy.
This is
It's
a joy.
Except for dogs at the market, and that's done with, so, it's.
Is it?
It's a joy.
I got one more news thing too, but is that done?
I mean, the policy still remains that no dogs at the market, no pets at the market. There is an exception of a community group that does bring a rescue animal to the market, and service dogs, obviously. The Greyhound Rescue Community Group receives a special permission for that.
What about the guy with parrots?
They were,
Yeah,
I forgot about him.
So that's-
You guys did
they were
him.
asked to leave.
That was a
They were
little,
sitting right behind us for
Right.
a while.
that was a little,
Then
Yeah, we talked to them.
So do we
They
need
were
to, so
happy.
no, it's funny, but do we need to maybe reword that part of it?
To
Because,
say pets.
or animals, because I could bring a pig, I mean, I threatened that one year.
Alive or not?
But, well, I brought a plywood pig, but I let Natalie think I'd bring a real pig, and she didn't fall for it. But,
That, I mean, we could update the sign.
so you're legally covered?
What do you mean by legally covered?
Well, I mean,
to exclude the animals.
we're in a crazy
yeah.
world.
Yeah, I mean,
all,
cats,
or all pets.
All animals.
all animals.
Other than
Oh.
service, that's,
Other
that
than-
Right,
protects
yeah.
us, so.
Because then you're covered then.
Mhm. Yep.
So, what happens when we see people disregarding that?
I think some,
Jump.
How, I mean,
I know that there's some vendors and customers that will approach the pet owner and let them know that the market's policy is no animals. And sometimes they'll come up to the market staff and inquire if that is the case. And, there's staff that walk around throughout the market day, and if we see a pet, typically it's a dog, we'll remind the dog owner. Once we did put up the new signage this year, that did cut it back quite a bit.
We're a gateway back there. They're always sneaking in back by us,
The other thing is we do have,
between the bushes.
a turnover in population every year, and so there's a lot of new folks coming to market that haven't been there before. And so we try to be polite about it when we talk to them, and we were hoping that our signage that was a little funny would kind of break that, break the ice a little bit.
They're buying meat, I don't care. I'm like, yeah. come on
That's
in.
what we have to remember,
No.
this is a new community. It's like
Right.
TJ Maxx, it's never the same town twice,
Yeah, 400 other times, right.
Yeah. Okay, well, we should.
One more thing.
move on.
And I had talked to Natalie about this, but one day this year she was short help and she was just struggling. I'd like to see a volunteer vendor, like, be assigned every week, a different vendor to help on some of the, what do you call them, trash duties or whatever, or maybe you don't want help. But I think it'd give us more skin in the game and kind of be a part of the market more, because I just, like I say, I feel guilty. We come in, we come out, you know. Maybe you don't care, I don't know. But,
It's my workout, picking up.
all right, well, I'm just throwing it out there. I know these guys are probably ready to kill me, but
That'd be a great thing for vendors to organize among themselves.
You maybe, if they're, it's not mandatory, because
No,
some vendors.
thanks.
We're laughing over here.
I ain't gonna be the one.
Well, maybe if
It's
it's
a
voluntary,
great
like, because of one-person operations, that would be
What that pin can
hard
do
for
to you.
them.
Well, I think what makes it so difficult is that in the parking lot, we don't have a dumpster to our name. And so if there is waste from vendors or customers, there's only a few places for it to go. And we did have a series of major hiccups with our garbage this season. I mean, major hiccups. But, you know, eventually we got it worked out and it was great. But when we do pull the bins at the end of the day, if there are still folks that have stuff to throw away, there is no place for them to go. So their options are to catch us as we get the bins out. And usually we hang out around for about 15 minutes. That's kind of what our policy is in the handbook, that if you have tokens to turn in, you have to be there by 12:15. You're
I
on
didn't
time.
know I had that long.
12 o'clock for you, no. And then we'll pull the garbage bins over, and we have a new location. Wade Franklin, the manager of Lincoln Square, offered us up his loading dock just past where the Great Impasta used to be. Now it's Amara Yoga. That way we don't have to cross Vine Street with our garbage.
Well, let me throw this out, because it just hit me when we were sitting there talking about this. The extra garbage is from the food trucks. Now, I'm not complaining, but, so let's put the onus on them and say, you know, guys, maybe you need, Kelly does.
Mhm.
Kelly's got her own.
She does
Maybe
her
they
own
need
garbage.
to make an effort. You know, I'm not trying to be, I'm just, you know, trying to help everybody out. But maybe they ought to have a 55-gallon thing with a 55-gallon.
Their own garbage recycle.
Because you think about it, there's no trash from you
There's no
guys.
trash
Right.
cans over there by the food trucks?
You know what I'm saying? You
We
don't
pull
create
them
no
over there.
trash.
We take
Afterwards,
ours
though.
home.
Right.
We pull them over around 7 a.m.
Oh,
and
so
then
they're
we-
there all- okay.
Yeah.
If every food truck had their own trash just for overflow,
Mhm.
I think, you know, you know what, I
Interesting
mean,
idea.
It could be part of their,
part of their
and-
setup.
yeah, part of their
That's a good idea.
admission.
So if we do, if I do move forward with pulling food trucks out of processed and prepared foods into their own category called concessions, then that would be the appropriate place to put that. If they come to market,
Yeah.
they need to provide
Their own trash
a garbage.
receptacle.
55 gallon, don't just say garbage, because that can be a little
5 gallon
Walmart
bucket.
5x5.
But it does also include that they have to pack it up and bring it with them, because
Right.
we don't have a place for them to throw it
Right.
out at the end of the day, with the
And
exception
take
of
it with them.
the bins that we
Good
roll
suggestion.
over.
It's a good idea.
I mean, some will need more than others. The
Mhm.
popsicle guy is not
Mhm.
gonna need that, so I think that we would work with them on what's appropriate.
The
Mhm.
donut guy,
Well,
donut
you
people.
know, I don't
will-
know, anyway, but I think it's a start.
That's a good idea, if that's where the garbage is coming from.
Well, you think about it.
Yeah.
You
Well, I
know,
appreciate that.
you don't have no
comment.
trash.
No.
Yeah.
And like
I
Bring some
Bob,
food.
we
Bring
bring
some,
ours
yeah.
home. You know, I got a little bit thing that we bring home,
Mhm.
but, you know, I don't create 55 gallons worth.
I might, but I take it home.
Because you know, I just, when the trash bins are running over, it makes the market look sloppy.
Mhm.
You know, I'm sorry, but it just does.
Well, that's a good idea. Good suggestion.
You know, I don't know how many times you go
Would help
over
the
there.
staff out too.
I got my little napkin, I can't, you know, it's full.
And I'm usually there in the early part, so I'm never there at 11 o'clock to see it. when-
And it's stuff that's, you don't want
People
to
are always
touch.
giving us trash too.
And I'll
From
take it.
them. Yeah.
Oh, and
They put 'em on
I'll
bag.
take, customer has something, a
Mhm.
snotty rag or something, I'll take it from my, but I got a 30 gallon thing, and that when it's full, it's full.
Yeah.
Like I said, we did have some weeks where we had a mess on our hands, but we were able to work with Public Works.
Is it just because so many people were there and so much trash, or there was,
We had some issues with our service,
okay.
yeah, but we got it worked out. And then once we did, we had 6 96-gallon residential size
Toters.
rolling toters, yeah. And so then it was on staff to make sure we caught them before they got to that point and swapped them out. And we had a great location to post them. It wasn't specifically on site, but it was as close as we could get without having to hop the curbs across Vine Street. So,
Okay.
but I thank you, Steve. I appreciate it.
It's a good idea. Okay. Announcements.
Just a couple quick announcements. There's a CSA fair on December 14th. We did this earlier this year in January, but we decided to do it in December before the holidays to capture the folks buying gifts for the holidays. So help us spread the word. We have a segment tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m. on Ag Answers. I pre-recorded it because I'm done waking up early for 6 months. I'm just kidding. So that'll be on tomorrow, and then we're working with the Land Connection and the Urbana Business Association to host the event. So the three organizations are trying to promote it.
Are you gonna have little give outs for that? Because I've been announcing it at events, and I wonder if we're gonna have like a little cards or something.
We do have a flyer, and we're in the process of getting it printed.
Okay.
Yes.
Because we had a presentation from, I never say this right, Sola Gratio?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Today at my executive club that I
Oh,
go
okay.
to, and so I said, hey, we've got this fair.
And they'll
coming
be
up."
there.
And Business and Development the other day, we had a big turnout, I announced it there, council, we might do that every Monday night, we make announcements, so
Do that
we'll start
next
talking
Monday.
it up,
Yeah.
so.
Yes. Like I mentioned, the annual report I'll give to council on January 11th. That's when we're scheduled to go. And then applications and handbooks for next season are planned to be available February 1st. Once again, using the same online management system with a few tweaks to the accounting section to make it easier on both vendors and me.
Well, so that brings up a question. Will this separate category of concessions be created for the 2016 season? Okay.
Yeah. And-
Thanks, I was gonna ask
Really,
that.
the only difference is when the vendor goes to apply, there's a list of grower, non-grower arts and crafts, non-grower processed and prepared foods and
And
community
that's something you
groups.
just do internally?
Now there'll be one
Okay.
more called concessions.
Okay, and that's where you'll talk about the garbage can?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So those will probably be all ready for the next meeting, do you think, for this meeting?
Yeah, yeah. So I've already had inquiries on the last day of the market when applications would be
trucks?
available. Oh, no, just from
Oh.
vendors. So that seems to have been the date for the past, I don't know, 5 years is that February 1st, so I'm just going with it.
You just need a triple S food truck.
I need another job.
So was there some discussion about moving the food trucks out of row 5?
I did receive some feedback about that, mostly because it does get congested in the morning, as the vendors know. There's really only one way to get in and out of the market without, we have a traffic flow at the market. It's 80% obeyed, where we come in from the northwest corner and leave from the northeast corner. So northwest corner is by the load and dock for common ground. We use that as only an entrance to the market. That way we, as vendors line up on the north side of the market, cars don't get stuck. And then the exit would be the corner where Pandemonium Donuts and the benches are at. If a food truck comes in and they can only serve from one side or the other of the truck, that determines how they can pull into the market.
You had a generator noise too, we wanted to keep those.
Right, so
Yeah.
that's the generator, that's one of the reasons
Yeah.
why they were on that side of the market, is it was along Vine Street, so there's traffic, there's a fire station, things like that. Although, interesting note, I did walk around with Scott Test from the Public Works Department with a, I guess it was called
Decibel reader.
decibel reader,
Mm.
and our buskers and performers were louder than the generators of the food trucks.
That's key. They're, that guy there with the amplifier. Too loud.
It's
You
not
have the right to
consistent, though.
calm him down.
Yeah.
Don't the
Did you ever
vendors-
ask him to just?
I just asked Kent, he's good at it.
Because he was next to that one year, and I enjoyed it, but.
And the vendors, we never
The little
considered the
too loud.
vendors on, what's the road on the east side of the, or the west side of the market?
Is that where we kind of have thought of putting them?
There's been a few suggestions. The easiest for pulling in and pulling out as a food truck would be along Walnut Street, which
That's
is the
Walnut
west side of the
Street.
market.
Yeah.
There is no electricity there.
And they need electricity.
For
Well, not really, not all.
Not necessarily.
Wasn't that the preference of our fire department to have that kind of open too, or am I making that up?
I'd have to check to see.
I thought there was some
Probably, yeah.
other
'Cause
emergency
Don't
access
we have like the
reasons to
Bloodmobile and they all park,
move 'em out
those other
towards
ones
the
park
street.
there,
The
so.
Bloodmobile does park along Walnut Street, and we have been using it more and more over the past 2 seasons, at least with Art at the Market, Performance at the Market.
Yeah.
It's kind of, we've tried to better utilize that area so that we don't have people try to drive in around the barricades down there on Illinois.
Because if we put the food trucks over there, then maybe we'd have more vendors on
Right.
5.
Something to think of.
Yes.
I think it's a good idea, but, you know, I'm just one vote.
Okay, any other burning issues?
If you do have any, you're welcome to share those.
And so our next meeting is, oh, here it is, January 28th. Okay. Seeing no further business before this board, is there a motion for adjournment?
I so moved.
Second.
Well, it's gonna be hard to put a 16 down, that's just, 15 was tough, 16 was hard.
This meeting is adjourned.
Yeah.
Thank you.